Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're gonna have a few more minutes before a lot more people join us on the call today. So this presentation will be recorded, and we're gonna start here in a few minutes. Okay, just give us a little bit of time to get more people to join in, and a couple minutes we'll start. Also, just as housekeeping items, we have the chat box in the bottom of your screen. So kind of towards the end of the presentation, we're gonna have a Q&A. But feel free to ask any questions during the presentation, and we can go through those at the end of the presentation as well. All right. I think we are ready to go. It's 3:02. So welcome everybody. Bienvenidos a todos. We're really excited. We're super excited. This is our first event that we're having as HPRA North Carolina. Um, this is something that we've been working for a long time. It was pre-COVID. Now we're back again into it. So this time will be, and we're gonna be doing more of these more often. So make sure you stay in tune with us, and we're gonna be sending you out more invitations. This one's about how to survive and thrive on the new norm. Because for everybody now we're working from home. Um, Maybe some of them went back to the office. It's just a different situation for a lot of people now. So the overview is when we went from crisis to the status quo. How you surviving. Uh, Working from home. It's always been camera ready. Are you getting Zoom tired? Some of the things we're gonna go through the presentation as well. Today, we're very excited to. We have, first of all, more than anything else, tell you a little bit more about who the HPRA is for people that might not know or just heard about it. The Hispanic Public Relations Association, which is HPRA, is a national association. So the mission is to practice or advance the practice of Hispanic public relations as a marketing discipline and to serve as a voice of professionals working in the Hispanic communications field nationwide, to empower its members to support resources, education, and offer guidance and assistance to students to pursuing careers in the field. Also, for North Carolina, the way we laid out is that we are formed as an emerging Latinx market in the North and South Carolina. So we are the Carolinas chapter. Our goal is to engage with the Latin communications professionals in the region to educate and we can search opportunities for everybody, have like a network for us as Latinos or Hispanic professionals to help each other and develop this industry. So, and you can be in the communications field, corporate, doesn't matter. You're welcome to join us too. We're going to give you more information to see how you can join later on too as well. Today, we do have some two great presenters. We have Marisa Roberge, which is our main person that will be talking to us today. Is Marisa. She is the lead program manager and marketing events at Blue Cross North Carolina. She's done. She's got a 20 years experience in this industry. Um, she has done from a small little events to large events for 20,000 people or more. So she definitely has experience on this. She actually had worked for Walt Disney too as well, and even she started something remotely too as well. So she knows this before the COVID hit. She was kind of prepared to go through this situation. So we're gonna hear more about that. You're gonna get this deck so you can see everything she's done. And also we have Gustavo Bernal, a friend of mine that I know him for maybe, I don't know, 15 years probably. But Gustavo also has been in the field for many years, so as well, almost 20 years. She's the director of marketing communications at Wellcare of North Carolina. He's also the HPRA Carolinas vice president as well. Also in the call today, join us here with us is Natalia, Pilar, myself, which is Chris Avila, and we also members on the board of directors as well. So, and we have opportunities for people to, in case they want to be part of the board as well. Eventually, we're going to talk about that. So, having said that, I don't want to take too much time. Let's go to the presentation. So, Gustavo, you want to take it from here?
Sure, Chris. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you everybody for attending. And Marisa, again, thank you so much to make the time to be with us today. So let's talk. Let's talk about some tips that you have been, as Chris mentioned, prepared for this moment long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and welcome everybody. This is a great association and I look forward to all the wonderful things that HPRA is going to do in the future. So today we're here to talk about what it is like to be in a virtual world. We've been doing it for a year now. And hopefully today you'll walk away with some tips and some ideas on ways to improve engagement as you continue in this virtual world. So Gustavo, to kick it off, I was going to talk about the tools. Everybody needs certain tools while they're at home to help them succeed virtually. I'm sure at this point, pretty much everyone's familiar with Zoom, which we're on right now, Microsoft Teams, there's Google Meet, all sorts of tools. And the more you become familiar with the pros and cons of each, the easier it is for you to use them. And of course, internet connection at your home or your office, wherever you happen to be, is really important. Wi-Fi is great. And if you have the ability to actually plug your computer into an Ethernet cable and into the wall, it really does make quite a big difference. So something to think about, investing in just a simple Ethernet cord, and that helps the speed of your internet improve your connection to your guests outside of the walls of your home. And then have a headset with a microphone, test those out, do some test calls with your friends or family and see what headset sounds the best. Believe it or not, the one you get with your iPhone, for example, is not necessarily the best one to use with your computer. So try different ones, find ones that are comfortable for you. Ones that cancel the noise in the background is really helpful, and whatever's comfortable for you to use. And then of course, think about your camera. The built-in camera on your computer may be great, but nowadays on Amazon, you can get a really great webcam for $30 and you'll see that it can make quite a difference in the way that you appear on screen. So think about the tools as you're moving forward in this virtual environment, which may be lasting a little longer than we thought it would. So it may be worth the investment.
Okay, Marisa, I have a quick question for you. Sometimes as a presenter, wondering if for you guys it's good to see people that is attending the meetings.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first, let's talk about what it's like to see you, right? So for your audience to see you, having a really clean background is important. All of us, the hosts here, we're using digital backgrounds, and some of them are great and really helpful. And the more lighting you have in front of yourself, the cleaner it'll look on your digital background. But if you don't want to use a digital background, just having a nice clean wall behind you is just as good. The most important thing is to remember to have your camera at eye level so that you're looking at your peers across through the screen. You've all seen those images of people who the camera's below them and you're kind of looking up at their face, or it's too high and you're looking down at their face. So really think about your camera being at eye level. And if you can, think about standing up. Maybe you have a higher desk or you can use your kitchen counter. It helps energize you as you're speaking and keep people engaged. And then, like I said before, face the light. That is very, very helpful. You do not want a window or any bright light behind you, because then the camera gets confused about what to focus on. But moving forward a couple of slides, Gustavo was asking, is it important for the hosts or the speakers to see the audience? And I think one of the things to think about is what is the best tool based on your needs for that particular meeting. So if you're having a meeting with just your team, or maybe it's a new client that you're reaching out to, Zoom meetings works great. I mean, that's what we're doing here today. Everybody's comfortable in Zoom meetings at this point. It's easy. You can see people. They can choose to have their camera on or off, whatever's most comfortable for them. And so it's very easy to use. But if you're beginning to host some larger events where maybe you're going to have 50 people or 100 people, you may want to begin thinking about something like Zoom webinar. And the difference with that is that it is one-way facing. So in Zoom webinar, the hosts are backstage, just like you would be on a real stage. And they're projecting out to the audience, but the audience doesn't have the ability to turn their camera on and speak back to you. And when you're dealing with large groups like that, that can sometimes be preferable, because then you're really helping the audience hone in on the speakers, and there's no mistake that you're going to hear noise from one of the 100 guests that may be on the other line. So something to think about as you're hosting larger meetings.
So Marisa, thank you for sharing that. But how do you encourage the participants to turn on their cameras?
Yeah, so one of the things is, have an icebreaker right when you start. Find a way that people can connect with each other. Usually when you walk into a meeting, you see your friends and your peers around you. Well, now in this virtual world, how do we see each other? Well, we look at a participant list, or we look at the chat feed. So, start with an icebreaker in the chat feed. Maybe put a question in there like, where are you calling from? And people can type in where they're tuning in from. Who's your coworker today? They can share their cat or their dog's best name. In fact, I thought we might do one right now. So if we go to the next slide, I thought I'd ask the audience a very important question in this virtual world. Would you rather have free, unlimited Netflix, Prime, HBO, and Disney Plus, or free, unlimited takeout delivery? So if everybody can put either A or B in the chat, we're going to know what is most important to you. Is it food, or is it watching movies on your television? So Karina says free delivery. Yes, but Michelle says movies. Got it. Lots of people for option B. I've done this icebreaker a few times at different sessions, and I think food tends to somehow beat out Netflix, but it's fun to see what's important to everybody. So again, by doing an icebreaker, now you've got some engagement in the chat. People are used to where the tools are, and hopefully, I hope you guys will keep chatting as we continue forward.
Okay, thank you for sharing that and demonstrate that here. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So I think next we were going to talk about scheduling.
Yes. What about scheduling, as you mentioned, webinars? I know it's some days and times that drive better engagement or participation, but for how long we need to schedule those webinars or meetings or Zoom calls?
That's a great question. So, we've learned a lot over the past year about scheduling, and I think you all would agree Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are our most productive days, aren't they, at work? I mean, Monday, you're just kind of getting back into the swing of things. And I don't know about you guys, but by Friday in this virtual world, I'm just completely Zoom fatigued out. So if you're hosting an important meeting or webinar, you want to look at those middle days of the week. And, you want to look at that 10 a.m. break where people are well versed, they've checked their email, they're ready to take a break from their regular work and attend your session, or right after lunch, around 1 o'clock in the afternoon is a really good time to schedule a session. And then, if we move on to the next slide, one of the important questions to ask yourself is how long should a session be? These status points were actually taken before COVID. So marketing webinars were typically attended for 52 minutes, corporate webinars for 55 minutes, and trainings for about 61 minutes. And I used to say 60 minutes is your max. I'm telling y'all now, as we move forward into our second year of virtual meetings, I actually try to help our business owners and clients whittle your content down to 45 to 50 minutes. And because think about a television show. That's about the length of a time that people are going to sit in front of the screen. So, and we'll talk in a little bit about how to vet down that content and make sure you're delivering the most important content.
Okay, but sometimes we engage with a webinar or accept the meeting based on the title that we receive. But sometimes we go because we don't understand and we go deep and try to find more information in order to commit to that webinar or that Zoom call. What do you suggest we need to include on, or what details we need to include on when we send the invite so we can inspire the people to attend the webinar or engage with our meeting?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Um, you have to lower the barrier to entry for people. We are all being pinged with a million emails, a million calendar invites. And if your attendee goes and they want to attend the event and it's not easy for them to click a link and get into your meeting, that becomes a barrier. So to lower that barrier to entry, the invitation really needs to have some really important points. First of all, you want to send it 2 weeks in advance because you want people to be able to work their schedule around your important meeting and not double book themselves. You want the title that's going to be on their calendar to be concise and to the point so that when they glance at it, they remember why they signed up for that meeting and why it's important for them to attend. So don't start your title with webinar or, meeting, because if that's the only thing they see when they're glancing quickly, it's not going to spark their interest. But if you start the title with HPRA, they're going to know, yes, that was important for me to attend. So think about that title. And then think about the description that you want to put into the meeting invite or in the registration page. Let people know, what are they going to learn from this session? What are they going to walk away with? In fact, HPRA did a great job in setting up this session with letting guests know, you're going to learn X, Y, Z, and this is why it's worth your time. So think about that description. Put the link in the invite if at all possible. I know all different tools are being used, but again, HPRA did a great job sending a reminder yesterday with a quick link, and that made it easy for people to attend today. And then to my next point, send a reminder, right? So let them know that, hey, we know you signed up for this. We know you've had a million other things pop up on your calendar, but we really hope you're going to attend because we care about your attendance. It lets the guests know that you really do care, that they're going to be there.
So now I still believe that some speakers is very hard for them to figure out what information they need to share. Therefore, their slides are overwhelmed and full of information that really don't engage the audiences. So do you have any suggestions on how we can put together a compelling, appealing, and engaging deck?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys are PR professionals, right? So I don't need to preach to the choir about how to do a compelling deck, but I will give you some pointers in this new environment, right? Um, think about it like television. You've got to have quick moving, eye catching slides because you all are looking at it right now. This is one of my favorite slides. It's a slide about boring slides. One of the things that I've learned is if you put a lot of text on a slide while the speaker is presenting, your attendees are going to start reading the slide and they're going to stop listening because you cannot listen and read at the same time. So if we move to the next slide, you'll see that it's a bright image. So you want the image to supplement what you as the host are saying so that people are listening and absorbing at the same time and not trying to read. So any kind of bright images, things that catch their attention, short phrases that you want to highlight in that particular moment. And, moving on to the next slide, kind of in a nutshell, you want one idea per slide. That way the slide is constantly moving and keeping people engaged. You want the font to be 24 point or larger. Everything in the deck that we're seeing here is a large font size. Again, people may not be watching on their computer. Maybe they're watching on their iPhone or their iPad where the font's even smaller. So you want to stick to that 24 point size. Use really full size images, colorful images, and consider having a dark background with a light font as you'll see it on this slide itself. It makes it easier and more pleasing to read to the eye as people are staring at the screen. more and more every day now.
So Marisa, thank you for sharing those tips, and I am guilty of don't apply those as well. So I will take note for my next deck. Um, Now, you mentioned before that the attention of the people is between 52 to 61, depends on what kind of or online event they are attending. But studies show that our attention is around 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are planning a Zoom call or a virtual conference, what elements do you need to be aware on the way that you can manage the attention of the people, but also keep them engaged?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, one of the beautiful things about living in a virtual world is that you can really think about what's the most important content to address in that live meeting. And you can supplement that information with emails before the meeting. So you might want to consider, if you're thinking of all the content you want to deliver, is there some pre read that you could send to your guests to let them know information in advance, let them absorb it at their leisure? Maybe they read your email right before they go to bed, or they read it with their morning coffee in preparation for your live meeting. And then, in the meeting, you're addressing the contents and you're answering questions as opposed to informing them right at the top of the meeting. So, thinking about how to break out your content through multiple touch points, not just in that 1 hour meeting. You can also think about splitting your content across multiple days. So, if typically you have a meeting, maybe when you were in the office, it was a 3 hour brainstorming session. Well, now, that's not going to work virtually. People cannot stare at a screen for 3 hours. So, think about breaking that into maybe three 30-minute sessions that are honing in on specific topics, and have it every day at 10 o'clock for 3 days in a row, and people come excited and engaged, and they have the energy that they need to really participate. And then lastly, you really want to think about what's most important to share. You just cannot share everything you want to in a virtual meeting, so highlight the most important tactics. And then build in interaction. So as we're doing now, we're doing a screen share with the PowerPoint. Zoom has made it very easy to share video now. You can very easily click a link and share a video with sound. You can have pre-planned polling, and whiteboard is even available on Microsoft Teams. So again, going back to that initial slide I had about knowing your tools, the more you practice in the tool that you're using, whether it's Zoom, Teams, or Google Meet, the more you can use some of these cool add-ons that they are making more and more available.
Okay, Marisa, thank you for sharing that. So, and now that we create, that you share us information how we can create the deck and how we schedule the online meetings. Assume it's time for the show.
Yes.
Like happened 30 minutes ago for the 5 of us. Uh, what should presenters and hosts do before the presentation to ensure a successful online meeting, or in this case, webinar?
Yeah, that's great. So, you mentioned the host. You know what? That is one of the most important things. So, the fact that you and I are here together and talking with each other, not only does it make a great conversation, but it also gives us a backup plan. Like, if for some reason my internet went out, which, trust me, in the last year of hosting virtual events, it has happened that our speaker has just been lost because their internet went out. At least the host is still there, to keep the audience engaged and reassure them, like, don't worry, we're going to get back online. So, work with a partner, even in your own meetings with clients or meetings with your team. Make sure that there's more than one of you hosting that meeting, so that if anything happens, the baby cries or the dog barks, there's somebody else to pick up and support you and to partner with you on that. And your host or your partner in the meeting can also run the presentation, as Natalia is doing for us now, which makes it really helpful because I can not have to focus on clicking the presentation, but I can look at the chat and I can talk to you. And then, you help each other monitor the Q&A. So there's so much to do as a speaker during a meeting that the more people you can have supporting you, the better it's going to run and the easier it's going to be for you to really engage with the audience.
So Marisa, you mentioned that sometimes things go wrong, and
Yes.
and we know all those famous videos that started with this guy with his baby on the background. But how we can overcome that? Is the people more flexible, or with the time we have been almost a year working from home, is demanding more from the presenters, or how is that?
That's such a great point. You know what? Authenticity is the key. It is going to happen. The dog is going to bark. You're going to forget to take yourself off mute. I think probably all of you have heard that the quote of 2020 was, "Hey, you're on mute." Um, and just be authentic, because we're all in this together. I mean, that's the beautiful thing, is that we're all handling the same issues in this virtual world as each other, and we've got to give each other grace. And the more authentic we are about what is happening around us, the more forgiving your audience is going to be during that time. So there is definitely a high threshold for imperfection, but as long as you are authentic and you share where you're at, the audience is going to be forgiving. And I'll share with you guys, just so you can know that I speak from experience. Just yesterday at Blue Cross, my team and I were hosting an event for 150 people. We've had a long run of doing this. We've been doing this for a year now. And I inadvertently logged into the Zoom account, not thinking that my other team member was hosting the meeting. And I was, doing some work in Zoom, setting up some other events. And then I said, leave. And it said, do you want to end the meeting for all? And I thought, well, that's strange. I mean, it's just me in here. And I hit end the meeting for all. And the whole meeting turned off for 150 people. So that just happened to me yesterday. And I can share with you, our audience was very gracious. We got so many emails like, it happens to all of us. Don't even worry about it. It was fine. So again, you have to be authentic and just kind of laugh at it, because what else are you going to do, right? Things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, exactly. Is that day a day, and we are learning through the
Yeah.
process, and the tools change almost every day, and everybody is using different tools to connect with people, and it's really hard to keep on track or update with all those changes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, Marisa, I want to invite Pilar and Natalia to talk more about some of the tips that we have for the people based on your experience as a professionals and communicators and working from home like many of us for the past year. If you have any tips for us that you want to share with us, I will appreciate it.
Thank you, Gustavo. Yeah. So that is the interesting thing. And thank you, Marisa, for all your tips. I mean, like, you prepare us very well for like all the dealing with Zoom and the decks and everything. And Natalia, now we kind of want to share a little bit more of like dealing with life and work together. Nati and I we had the opportunity to work distance for our previous jobs before. I even work, from Colombia when I was working with a company here in the United States, or, like I work with a multinational where all my coworkers were all over the world. So all my work was remotely. So I had to learn, and it was super easy, and I was super pleased because it was easy, putting schedules together, get to do all my things and everything. But COVID came now, and we were like, oh yeah, this is easy to do because I have done it in the past. Not the same, especially when you have kids, you have husband, you have what you guys were saying, dogs, cats, whatever that might interrupt your work at home, that turns completely different. So there is a bunch of different tips going around. You get to hear from different sources, like, here's some tips for you how to handle your work at home. But reality is like, do we follow those tips? Like we said, like, okay, we're going to do it like this. I'm going to schedule myself and everything, but reality, we're not doing it. So Nati and I, we're going to talk a little bit about our own experience and what we should be doing, and hopefully everybody gets to do moving forward.
So it is great to be able to be home and work in your pajamas, right? I mean, that's nice, but that shouldn't be your everyday. So make sure you have a schedule, because you used to have a schedule, right? When you would have to commute, you'd have to go into the office, you'd have to schedule around that. So go ahead and create that schedule on a daily basis. Get dressed as if you're going to work. Try not to multitask and do work and the laundry, work and meal prep. Like, make sure you're focused on what you're doing, not so much multitasking. So that schedule kind of helps guide, guide your day. And another quick tip is, we say this, but do we do this? Do you block out your calendar? Are you swamped and you can't get to anybody's emails? Did you send, an out of office? Pretend you're out of the office, because you're just not available. You can't be working and on a call and responding to the emails or Slack messages and text messages and phone calls and voicemails, like all of it. It's just too much. So when you have one of those days, or maybe you're having one of those weeks, maybe set out that like out of office reply, or just block out time in your calendar that you're not available for a meeting and you're able to dedicate and focus to something specific.
To add a little bit to that, it is crazy because you're right now, because of COVID, more technology came out. Like, okay, now we have Slack, we have text messages, we have, Teams and everything, and there is much more going on. And it's kind of hard to block yourself, but like, if you do that, it's the best way to be able to focus and do your work.
And like Billy said, like, we have a lot of technology. So I don't know about you guys, but I get notifications on my watch, my phone. Alexa yells at me things. Turn off notifications. Otherwise, you're never off, right? Like, you're always on. And I know as communicators, sometimes our role is a 24/7 kind of environment. There's got to be a time that you unplug, because if we've learned anything, is if it's an emergency, they will keep hounding you until you answer your phone. And so that text, that notification, that email that you're trying to answer while you're trying to have lunch, it's going to be there when you finish. So just take your time and get back to them, when you can. And again, if it's a real emergency, they won't stop calling you. Billy and I like this one, no meeting zone. Marissa explained like specific days and times to have meetings. Okay, can we do the opposite? Like, what days and times should you not have any meetings? Please don't schedule meetings Fridays. Don't schedule after 4 p.m. Just work with your team, right? Like, if you're the owner of the meetings, take under consideration when your team is most likely to pay attention. If you cannot dictate the schedule, then maybe have that type of conversation with whether it's HR, senior management, or your immediate supervisor or your team, and really decide, well, when are we most efficient? When are we more in tune with what's going on? And when have we really like just checked out? So avoid those areas. And it could be ideally it's something that you as a team have come together, that someone's not just going to schedule these meetings because you've all decided, right? It's not going to pop up on your calendar. And if you can't get that, then create yourself some time that says no meeting zones. Just mark off that you're busy at that particular day or time, and hopefully they look at your calendar and don't schedule them.
Nati, you touch a point over there that is very important, and I think that it actually applies to most of the tips that we're given, and it is that it's not only a matter of you doing it, but like that you talk with your company and HR and everything to be able to set up these tips going on for the better process internally, for everybody to be able to work from home efficiently and effectively. So that is super important, that communication with the rest of your team and your company.
There's memes out there. They're like, could this have been an email? Billy and I are used to having been remote workers in the past, multi-site teams, different time zones, different countries. And with everybody now going remote, everyone is like, here's a Zoom link, let's jump on Zoom. And it's like, wait a minute, could this have been an email? Could this have been a text? Could this have just been a, hey, I'm calling you. Let's just have a 2-minute conversation, resolve the problem or the issue at hand, and not have another 30-minute Zoom call, on your schedule. So yeah, it's a funny meme, but that's your time. So are you doing it too, right? Like, because we're always gonna say someone did it to me, but are we guilty of that too? Lately I've gotten into the habit that I ask the person that I want to talk to if they have a preference. Like if I have to have a conversation with you, do you want me to, just call you, or do you prefer Zoom? And depending on the day, depending on the time and their mood, they might just be like, oh no, just call me. And I get it. I don't want to have to see everybody's face every day, every hour on the hour. So just think about, could this have been an email? Could this have just been a quick text?
And
I'll just add real quick, because I've been guilty of this, is having been a remote worker for a really long time, a lot of times I'm able to work at off hours, right? Really late, really early, because everyone else is sleeping, busy, not bothering me. But that doesn't mean you should be sending out an email at 3 a.m. So work on your thing, draft your email, do not send it. You can schedule it for later or come back to it with fresh eyes, 8 a.m. the following morning, review it, and then send it. Nobody needs to know when you got your work done. They just need to know it was taken care of, right? But don't pressure the rest of your team to be checking their emails on off hours or expected to respond. Sorry,
and
Phoebe, go ahead.
that's basically out of respect to other people as well, because as we were talking about, there is so much technology involved these days that you probably have your watch on and it starts buzzing in the middle of the night. So you need to respect on, the time of other people as well, and make sure that, like you're not sending things in after hours, and let people rest, take your own rest, and be able to move forward and continue to do the things next day. And as you were saying also, but could this have been an email? It is funny that I think that COVID also made it even more for people to get more used to let's have a chat, let's have a Zoom or something like that. It's because they were missing the interaction with people, so that made it a little bit more difficult to, get used to just sending a message, just a text message or something instead of having a Zoom. But now that we're moving forward, hopefully going back to a little bit more to the reality, that would be something that we can start changing.
Yeah. And Marissa shared a little bit about some tips on a designated workspace. You talked about lighting and things like that. My flip to that is also a change of scenery. So if you look at your schedule and you're like, I need to focus on something, or I just need a break. Well, work from your deck, your patio, go to Starbucks on off hours, outside, you know what your schedule is like. So you might just be a participant. Maybe you're not hosting meetings, and it's okay to be kind of remote for the day or for a couple hours, because sometimes we just need to get a little bit of a break and a change of that scenery that you've been, staring at for a year. We talked about, and it was like, you could do this for a couple weeks, but it's become months, it's become a year. So it's just not sustainable. So if you're guilty of some of these or not incorporating some of these in your daily routine, now is definitely the time, just from a mental sanity kind of health and wellness standpoint. None of this is normal. Speaking of none of this is normal, we might be used to being, I don't know, super efficient and effective and have these long to-do lists. And I feel like reality is you're going to have to chop that off. You're really just going to have to trim down what you think you're going to be able to produce today, because these are not normal times. And it doesn't make you a better or worse employee. It just makes you a more realistic person. You are a human being. You are not a robot just here to produce and crank out. So sometimes we need to lower a little bit those expectations. Like Marissa said, give ourselves a little bit of grace, adapt, and just, tackle what realistically, you can, because you can have all the intentions in the world and then your Wi-Fi is out. Well, or if you've got all your files on Google and it's acting up, well, you can't even access your files. So just give yourself a little bit of grace on that.
Yeah, I think that those lists need to be prioritized, we make a big list these days and it's like, I'm going to complete everything, but reality, as you're saying, I mean, like there are things that need to be done, but like there are things that can wait for later. And there is understandable situations like important deadlines, you know, we're launching a campaign tomorrow, something that we need to do really serious and really quick, but like not everything is an emergency. Thankfully, we're not brain surgeons. So, I mean, like we can still prioritize our work.
We put on here, take walking breaks, because we thought that was like the easiest thing that you could try to incorporate, a 10 or 15 minute walk break at some point, maybe in the morning and then in the afternoon. And if you want to look at it as a guilty pleasure, that's okay, but you need to be able to walk away. If we were in a normal traditional work environment, you would have been able to go to the water cooler and, you know, get a cafecito and swing by another person's cubicle and just have, you know, a little break, brain break. Or even walking, like you might have actually walked from your office to someone else's, and we're not doing that now. So try to incorporate a few more walking breaks. And again, if you know your schedule and you know maybe you're a participant on a call, take the call to go and just make sure there's not lawnmowers and birds and dogs barking. But again, just play with your schedule, and you know, if you can take something to go, you know, go. Or I've missed like webinars, right? But then I hear the recording. So that might be a good thing to like multitask. Like, yeah, I have a treadmill, so I can get on the treadmill and watch or listen to the webinar that I may have missed, but I'm still getting my exercise, disconnecting a little bit and getting something else done at the same time.
I actually attended a webinar or like a meeting last week, Blue Cross event that Marisa was hosting. And it was pretty interesting to hear like their new big boss in the company talking about how she dealt with, you know, adapting to the COVID world and everything, and how she was staying in shape and everything. And she was talking how ridiculous we are that, you know, we were used to driving 30 minutes, 40 minutes to go to work and back and forth, right? So that makes an hour in total the whole day. And we cannot take that 30-minute break actually right now to go out, take a walk, ride your bike, whichever thing that you need to do to stay healthy. So she said that for her, it was hard to do it, to stop working and do the things and actually think like, okay, I should be in the car right now. Well, instead of being in the car, I'm going to start doing Peloton. Like she said that she became the big fan of Peloton. So that shows that, you know, and I feel completely guilty about that. Like I stopped like all my workouts and everything since I started working at home and stuff. And I heard that and I was like, I need to go back to do that, you know, 30-minute class of yoga online or something to be able to, you know, recover from the day to day. Yeah.
We thought it was important to also highlight that you should also speak up about conflict. We started the conversation that, you know, none of this is normal. It was supposed to be temporary, right? Just for a little bit. And now it's dragged on for a much longer period of time. So, you know, an example would be, you know, if you've got a child who they've got a certain schedule at home, but they're virtual learning and it doesn't work for you, just simply speak up. That day or that time is just not available for me, but this is. Or if you have a standing, like I must pick up my child. I must pick up my child today at 4. You know, then just block off from your calendar, but, you know, speak up. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, it's not like you can just close the door to, let's say, your office and the world has stopped. Like life is happening. It's still there. You might be sharing space with someone in your house. You might be having 2 or 3 kids running around trying to do virtual learning at the same time. Like whatever your situation is, just, it is life. You know, I've like yelled at my husband because I'll be like knocking on his door and he's like, I'm on a call. And I'm like, okay, but if your daughter needed something, what were you going to say? He's like, I'm on a call. Okay, you can tell the person that you're speaking with, just 1 second. My daughter needs me for just 1 minute, 1 second, handle it, and then go back to your call. So I think sometimes moms kind of get a bad rap because we have to like juggle all of these things. And at least for my husband, it's like he shut the door and he's at work. So just, you know, it's life, it happens, it's real, you know, speak up about conflicts. And, you know, obviously it's easier said than done, but, you know, disconnect, right? Like If you're in the same space for work, then walk away, right? Walk away from the computer, leave the phone or turn off those notifications, because you do need to be able to say, I started and I stopped work. And there's other parts of your life, whether it's family, hobbies, the dog, whatever it might be, they don't just stop. They have to keep going as well. So make sure that you're paying attention to all those other aspects of your life, and it isn't just 24/7 work, work, work.
Right. I have to say that, you know, in my case, I have an 18-month-old, and all my coworkers and even my clients know that that is the case. And my nanny, that thankfully she helps me during the day, but like she leaves at 3 in the afternoon. So any meeting that I have after that time, my client coworker or so on, they are going to get to see Valentina screaming, crying, or running around. And they are aware that that happens because I have told them that that is the case. We were practicing for this event and trying to organize everything, and everybody got to see Valentina walking behind me. So that's life. Exactly, life happens. I mean, like we have them. We're working from home, and it is important that, you know, you let your coworkers or clients or everybody that, you know, that needs to know that after a certain time, I mean, like your life gets involved with your work.
All right, guys. So one thing that we go into this, where somebody had questions about in the Q&A chapter of this on this event, and one question was really good because I think Marisa answered a little bit of that. But is there any tips of being inclusive with attendees who might have a degree of visual impair?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, how are we going to handle that? So Marisa, you can tell everybody how, you know, what you have done for that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually started producing as part of our content, not just slide presentations and videos, but producing podcasts. And what that allows people to do is step away from the screen and hear the content and absorb the content in a different way than they normally would throughout the day. And I was thinking when Susana asked that question, it would even be helpful to people who are visually impaired, you know, just really listening to a conversation and not feeling that you have to have visual content to supplement it. Sometimes a good conversation, as you know from many podcasts, is quite effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we didn't discuss so much here, but there's a lot of people with disabilities that can't get that, with COVID, they can get an immediate touch, you know, communication, you know, in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them might be blind, some of them might be, deaf. So sign language. So we have somebody with sign language doing the meeting as well, you know, on the side, because now with this, something that you can have somebody also doing the recording, doing something too, or maybe pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm.
With the sign language too as well. So it's something that we need to learn. There's some more questions coming in. We have also that, what based platforms do you recommend for people who are design challenged to make an eye-popping and engaging slide? So where can you get some good websites that you can get some good graphics to get a good presentation without being a graphic designer? Do you have any ideas?
That's a great question. I have to leave that up to the creatives on the line. If you all know of some good, I know there's some free ones out there.
Yeah, that's something that too. I mean, we're probably going to have to come out with a list of some websites, but there's some. I mean, basically something what I do in my own case. I go to even Google because I'm going to be selling something, just basically doing a presentation just to make a point. So you go to Google and then go images and then do I don't know, like business background or maybe family background on the images, and then you get a lot of pictures there. So you can pick the best ones you like you said, big bold pictures, not many words, get people more engaged. So that's a good question too. So you can keep asking your questions about that.
Yeah, and Chris, the other thing that just came to mind is Microsoft has so many wonderful built-in templates now.
Yeah.
I mean, I went and looked at them the other day and I was blown away at how many more are available just to give you that starting point, and then you can, build up on the template. But check those out because they're really great.
Yeah, and actually sometimes on Microsoft, talking about that, I was on a presentation one day and I just put a picture on the slide, and then he gave me some background ideas or some design ideas because I have already some wording, and then I just added the picture, and it says it can look like this or it can look like that. It give you like 10 different sides how you would look that slide. So that's a big help that without being a graphic designer, there's like, okay, I like this one. It looks real cool. I'm gonna go with that. So that's real cool. That there's more tools available for now. Somebody put in there like I think it was Natalia Canva is a good one too as well. There's another question here. It says, what advice do you have for recent grads, new hires who are entering into the workforce within this virtual environment?
That's a great question. I mean, I'll just say, think about applying for positions that may not necessarily be in the role that you typically think of. I mean, I see this happen all the time at Blue Cross where people will come in, for example, one of the women on my team, she came in as an administrative assistant, and then after just being at Blue Cross for 6 months, found what she loved to do and moved into another role. So, broaden your horizon in terms of what roles you may be willing to use your skills at to get there. And then once you're inside the corporation, I think you'll find a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, because I mean, sometimes right now you can't quite shine, I will say, because you're not in the office. And
Right.
Nobody can see you exactly what you're doing, so it's kind of hard to really make a stand from everybody. So I have actually a coworker just started about a couple of weeks ago. But one of the things he does is ask a lot of questions. He calls us or he texts us, he emails, oh hey this, hey that, and that's okay to do. You can ask questions. That's what your team is there for. So don't be afraid to ask questions, or get with your management. Just find somebody like a little mentor that can help you out within the environment to help you move up, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to stay on the same level all the time. You eventually want to grow somewhere. So that's real cool.
And maybe join HPRA Carolinas where
And
we can guide
join
many of them.
HPRA Carolinas. That's right. Yeah. And by the way, we want to give a shout out to Susana Diaz, which is the president of HPRA National. So Sonia Diaz, I'm sorry. So Sonia, thank you for being here on the call today too as well. So you can, it's our first event. So we're gonna have many more. We're gonna try to be even better than this. Of course, it's like anything else, we're a little nervous and how it's gonna go. Is it gonna go? But life happens. It's just all this cool stuff that we talk about it today. So I think something awesome for everybody to be here today. And we're gonna send you this deck so you can have it, and you can look for us in the information about how you can join the HPRA. For maybe being alert for the next events we're having. So Natalia is our president in actually North Carolina. So Natalia, you want to say anything else to the folks in the meeting before we end?
Am I on mute?
Yeah, you're on mute. You're on mute now. Go ahead.
I was kidding, but I couldn't really tell. No, just thanks to everyone who was able to come today. And we will share the deck, and we will also share the recording. So if you want to watch it again, or if you need to share it with someone as well. And shout out to Sonia, who is our national HPRA president, who's here. So we appreciate your time today, and we'll have a lot more activities, events, networking, and PDs lined up for the Carolinas. So we're very excited.
Yeah, and like I said, again, this is the main thing for us to start this chapter, is to help each other. Have a network of Hispanic professionals. Even Hispanic is fine, but we just have a network of professionals that we can help each other in the Carolina. So that's what we're here for. And you don't have to be a public relations field. It can be anything else too. It can be you work in corporate, or you work in any kind of newspaper, radio, TV, wherever you work, doesn't matter. We're here to help each other, especially right now in these times. So we're very excited. Thank you so much. We give you some time back to you guys. So again, I really appreciate you guys being here today, being committed to be in this event. And we'll see you in the next one. We'll send you an email about it, so you know what's coming up next. Okay. Thank you, Marisa.
Wonderful.
Again
Thank you all. So good. And we'll see you at the next chapter meeting.
We'll see you.
Thank you.